Krillin is a goddamn gentleman. When we watch the anime or manga of Dragon Ball Super, what do they both have in common when it comes to Ultra Instinct, and what link do they both share? When we become engrossed in the cluster that is the Tournament of Power, plus the insane progression of various characters' powers, and introduction of huge names once again like Broly, Jiren, it's very easy to miss the smaller details that could actually be a signal for one of the most meaningful additions to the future of Dragon Ball, and also one that incredibly respects the past. If you say Krillin is stronger than Super Saiyan Goku or Namek, prepare to die! Krillin is not allowed to be stronger than any Super Saiyan. He's a human, and you must abide by the Dragon Ball rules, and you will do what the Krillin haters tell you to do. If they say jump, you say Kaioken times 50, and you jump. And if you're a human, you go to the back of the line. And if you're not a Saiyan, prepare to die. And if you're ready to show your love and support to one of the most underrated characters in Dragon Ball history, stay tuned right after this. Ever since I was a kid watching Dragon Ball, I would absolutely love the top tier fighters like Goku and Vegeta, but even when I was a kid, I would always gravitate towards the likes of Krillin, Tien, and Yamcha. And then as time went on, Piccolo. I could always remember moments in the series like when Piccolo would whip a few Cell Jr.'s asses, even when he was not on the levels of Vegeta or Trunks in the Cell games, but seeing guys like Yamcha and Tien protect Goku and kick a Cell Jr. together in his nuts was such a powerful moment to me and gave me chills. Why is that? Why is it when I watched Krillin on Namek throw in his Destructo Disc, a second form Frieza fighting for his life, even against Nappa, when they were trying to use teamwork to beat him? Why was I more in his corner than the stronger fighters? I seriously felt attached to the underdogs in the whole Dragon Ball story because they were relatable and inspiring, and it's one thing to have the strength to whip everyone's ass and save the day, but it's another thing to be well short of that power, but still showing the courage and bravery to stick around and fight it out for the greater good, even though you know you're gonna die in one blast. That is motivating to me, and it's why I will always love the underdogs in Dragon Ball, despite how much they are constantly hit down lately and not cared about story-wise. Back in Dragon Ball Z, or early days I should say, underdogs had somewhat of a fighting chance if they played their cards right extremely well. But now in the latest Dragon Ball Super manga, underdogs may get a few cool panels here and there, and we get hyped up when Yamcha gets a fight, but ultimately, they aren't making any difference to the big baddie. But it's still pretty awesome when we see them in action. It shows how much we love them. Just having Yamcha get ready for battle? Why do we get worked up about that? It's because we love underdogs. But the big problems all started when Cell turned up in my opinion. But then again in the anime it was epic seeing the underdogs try and help Gohan in the beam struggle and hearing Vegeta say, could this actually work? It made us feel like, in the anime anyway, that these guys were given every ounce of power they could to help no matter what. And it made us think that this may actually make a difference. Even though they got blasted away, it was still awesome to have that moment. But another reason why I love the underdogs is because of their ignored credentials from way back in the day, and how much they're made a joke of now, just because they don't have Super Saiyan or God Ki. Underdogs made Dragon Ball so much more interesting to watch, and it broke up the typical pattern. We rooted for these underdogs because we didn't want them to die, knowing full well they are always in danger. So I ask you scholars, do you love the underdogs of Dragon Ball? Even Yamcha? Why do you like the underdogs? And tell me your favorite underdog moment. Are you tired of the story always focusing and giving the spotlight and importance to the strongest Saiyans? And do you miss the times when even Krillin and Tien could get involved to make a difference? And where does Krillin come into this and the potential of him being able to enter his own Ultra Instinct state? Well, when we see Goku and even Master Roshi demonstrate that state for a while, we have to remember that Krillin was the third part of that original team. Master Roshi, Goku and Krillin, the master and student rivalry. And I just feel Krillin has been left out of this somehow, or there's still much more to come. And it goes way back, and that was at the time Krillin had the most spotlight he's ever had. And since then, Krillin has always been there to help, always stayed in the game somehow, despite him competing with a new power level right in, fought and trained hard, and always went to the big fights he knew he couldn't win. But he was never in a lead role, he was just a mere human. But as Master Roshi said, we don't master martial arts to win fights, we do it to conquer ourselves. And I feel Krillin has shown so much dedication to the art in Dragon Ball. Even at the end of GT, he's still there with Master Roshi. Krillin has so much loyalty to his master and teachings, and I feel this is totally overshadowed. I feel Krillin in the anime of Super had shown this mental growth, not only to raise his strength levels, but more importantly to put his mind, body and spirit in sync once again, and truly feel that was an opening for the third piece of the puzzle to demonstrate his Ultra Instinct to go with Goku and Roshi. It would really show that part of the fandom who don't give a crap about Krillin that not Not only is Krillin a meaningful character in terms of his growth and what he stands for, but also showing that the best warriors are the ones who conquer themselves and wield everything they have in the moment of a fight. Krillin has fought for so long just as much as Goku, and has had sufficient training through the years. If there's anyone who has a wide range of experience and muscle memory similar to Goku, it's Krillin. And for him to enter a state of Ultra Instinct, Krillin has what it takes to sustain being in that state because of how he demonstrated his growth in the anime, when he overcame a lot of his personal problems in relation to combat. One of the saddest moments in Dragon Ball for me was seeing Goku and Krillin start out as students together, going through everything together to get to the tournament, and then the biggest gap just started happening between the both, until Krillin was just a spare part for the Saiyans to get all the glory. That, to me, hurt me as a Krillin fan, and as a fan of humans, and also being a human myself. Some seem to think that you have to have a certain level of power to use Ultra Instinct because Goku was matching and surpassing Jiren, but as we've clearly seen in the manga, it has nothing to do with how physically strong you are or your fighting strength. This is how power levels and scaling and universe busting and feats have clouded everything that is good storytelling. Because Ultra Instinct is everything to do with the mind. There's a big clue why state of mind is referred to so often. It's not a state of muscles. Of course, it probably doesn't hurt to have a stronger arm. In the anime and manga of Dragon Ball Super, we see Goku enter the state that is known as Ultra Instinct. And in the manga, we also see that Master Roshi indeed knows the foundation of what it takes to enter the state of mind that is Ultra Instinct. And as a fighter with his level of power in the Dragon Ball verse, it makes it difficult for even Jiren to hit. And as Master Roshi said, it's not about big powers, it never was. And as we clearly see, it's all to do with the mind. Principles that were introduced in early Dragon Ball, but as time went on, slowly became forgotten and overshadowed by the bigger, beefier transformations and power levels. Point being, Ultra Instinct pays more respect and links to martial arts more than any transformational technique that Goku uses that I can think of at this time. Master Roshi to this day in Dragon Ball is still Goku's mentor. As shown, he still has a few tricks up his sleeve to teach Goku in terms of mind, body, and spirit. And when we go way back to the beginning of Dragon Ball, all of these martial arts principles were where guys like Roshi, Goku, and Krillin were flourishing. Even Tien and Yamcha. Because this is what these guys were all about, martial arts. And I don't know if you've noticed, but in the Dragon Ball Super manga now, we constantly start seeing spectators and fighters start disregarding the super powerful transformations and powerful beings, trying to tell us that the story is not all about big powers anymore. And this is where dedication, determined warriors like Krillin can see an opportunity to shine once again, despite them being downplayed for years to let the stronger Saiyans and villains lead the fights. In my honest opinion, the days of Dragon Ball Z, when it was all about the big power levels, is over. Plain old fighting strength. Who the heck taught you that? Vegeta, Frieza? And this was basically the Dragon Ball Super manga saying, screw fighting strength now. Because let's be honest, if they kept writing the way they were going, in terms of never-ending powers rising, they are going to back themselves into a corner with storytelling that they can't get out of. And I don't know if you've also noticed, but Dragon Ball in the manga at least is starting to slowly edge away from those powers and focus more on the basics again, more on the abilities and growth of the individual character. It's not about determining fights now with power level 150 million versus power level 400 million. Fights are now starting to be determined on how successful a fighter is at mastering themselves and their own training tree. And this is a great way to watch Dragon Ball. I hope that one day we no longer see fighters as Universe Busters versus Galaxy Busters. But instead, I'd like to see a warrior win through his own abilities, wisdom, motivation, and practice. Training versus training. And you know what? They can change it back to basics if they wanted to. They could scrap this whole scaling system if they wanted to. No matter how many fans or power scaling purists want to argue that it makes no sense for someone like Master Roshi to step up to the table against big villains, or anyone else for that matter, who's not a big powerful Saiyan, then it doesn't matter. The writer's pen is the most powerful weapon here, even if it doesn't make sense in terms of continuity and sense in Dragon Ball. I would say it would be a massive slap on the wrist to themselves for how biased the writing has been over the years, just to suit the big main powerful characters. I know that takes away from the big main event tyrant battles like we saw with Goku versus Frieza, but you know what? I double down if Dragon Ball went back to how it was in early Dragon Ball when fighters demonstrated their potential in a tournament match and beat the villains through their art. Goku versus Krillin, Tien versus Yamcha, fights like that, to me, was so much more relatable. But why do I think Krillin above all other characters that would be next in line for Ultra Instinct? There has to be a good enough reason why, even for Krillin, would be suited to showcase that over the likes of Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and that's simple. Krillin's a goddamn gentleman. Vegeta is sorted and looked after in terms of what he's got and how he's identified. The same goes for Gohan. He has his ultimate form, and that should be explored even further. So much potential there in what he can do with that. Piccolo may be a contender, but I feel Piccolo should be going down a different path to Ultra Instinct. Something more Namekian based to separate himself from the Saiyans and everyone else. But God knows what they do with Piccolo, poor guy. If there's a guy who I'd probably put next to Krillin more than anyone else to showcase the mastery of themselves, it would be Ten Shinhan, because he's a goddamn role model. Ten Shinhan to me is like Krillin in terms of their commitment and loyalty to martial arts. Everything I believe Dragon Ball stands for. Yamcha with Ultra Instinct would probably become more of a meme than a serious storytelling matter. Not that I don't like Yamcha, I really do, but I feel Yamcha's portrayal is not quite ready for the state of mind of Ultra Instinct because he's a guy that is cheery, loves life, loves having a good time, without spending too much time on his martial arts training like Tien, Goku, and now Krillin. And the reason I say Krillin is because, like I said, his resurgence of determination is super, and also it gives his character something special that only a set few can master. It would sure piss them gods off, seeing our boy Krillin wield Ultra Instinct because he's done the one thing they can't. He doesn't have to be the one-trick pony with the Destructo Disc. I'm kind of sick of seeing Krillin used for just those purposes now. His character is so much more than that. The writers just need to give him a shot. Though, if Super does go with the Vegeta getting Ultra Instinct or any other Saiyan and leaving Krillin just how he is, then that's fine. I mean, Krillin's not exactly complaining, is he? Maybe some don't think Krillin deserves Ultra Instinct, but I think he does. That state of mind, shown in the Tournament of Power, shows us that it's something not for the physically strong fighters, but for the one strongest in the mind. Goku, Master Roshi, Krillin, the originals. What better way of writing would there be to shake the entire world when Krillin finally shows everyone what it really means to be a warrior and martial artist? I respect Krillin for all he's done and survived through in Dragon Ball, being the butt end of jokes and being a support character to hype everyone else up, and occasionally being written to be a scared little man. That's not who Krillin is to me. So until that day though, I'd like to hear your thoughts about Krillin having the potential and mindset to enter the state of Ultra Instinct. Should Krillin be the one? That's what I'm asking. Comment below if you're keen for this, or if not Krillin, who else do you think? I ask you to hear my opinion on Krillin's strength levels because I'd love to hear your thoughts on Krillin and where you would gauge his final power in Dragon Ball Super, as I'm sure many of you guys really do understand Krillin's new level of power, even if he's just a human. Do you think his newfound power in Super puts him ahead or behind Namek Saga Super Saiyan Goku? And I know back in the day we would never dream of Krillin being at the level of any Super Saiyan, even if it was just the first one. But in this day and age in Dragon Ball Super, where the power creeps come out of everyone's ass faster than a toilet session after a bad curry house, then Krillin's enhanced power being beyond Super Saiyan Goku on Namek may not be that far of a stretch. Think about it. Guys like Roshi can do shit like this to Jiren in the manga of Super. And after all, Krillin is a guy who, as we've seen in the anime regularly, spars with Android 18. And even though she holds back against him in one of the scenes, to think Krillin, yes, Krillin, intends on sparring and throwing punches with an android who broke the fuck into a Super Saiyan Prince's arm effortlessly. And that's a Super Saiyan that was post Namek Saga Super Saiyan Goku. It's actually an eye-opener. And what's to say that the new 18 in Dragon Ball Super is not even stronger than she was back then in the Android Saga? Maybe not to the extent of 17, but 18 is 17's twin android after all, so why not believe she's become stronger over the years? And even far beyond Super Saiyan Goku on Namek, right? And with our boy Krillin sparring with her, even if Android 18 is 25% serious in sparring Krillin, do we even think that 4 Super Saiyan Gokus on Namek could beat an Android 18 in the Cell Saga? Let alone a potentially powered up 18 in Super? Look, not even 2 post-Namek Super Saiyans in Vegeta and Trunks could even harm Android 18. And we're talking about Super Saiyans that could beat Frieza in one move. The same Frieza who was battling a Super Saiyan on Namek for 5 long minutes. And we have to ask ourselves, is Krillin in Super even 1/4 or more of Android 18's strength in Super? And if we believe that as a yes, then there's a solid chance Krillin surpasses Super Saiyan Goku on Namek. Potentially even early Android Saga Super Saiyans. It's crazy, right? And even if Krillin cannot overpower the likes of some Super Saiyans in Z, then by God, with a Destructo Disc, can his new strength in Super allow him to kill Super Saiyans early on in Dragon Ball Z? And the answer to that is a solid yes. Krillin doesn't have to be the same power as anybody to kill them if he needed to. Just ask Nappa and Frieza. Good job Vegeta told Nappa to move, and there probably would have been no Super Saiyan on Namek if Krillin's disc hit second form Frieza in the face. Krillin may be weaker than a lot of Super Saiyan 1s in Dragon Ball Super and even Z, but if Krillin's Destructo Disc in Super hit any Super Saiyan in Z, all of the jokes stop. A few years ago in Dragon Ball Super, after years brushed under the rug for others to shine, Krillin made a comeback, and it took the fandom by storm. How can Krillin, a guy for years who has lost all relevant aspects to Dragon Ball, a guy who got with Android 18, had a kid, settled down, how is he now prepping for a tournament of power? And how in God's name is he sparring with Goku? Sure, it's Super Saiyan Blue Goku who held back, but to be in the same ring as Goku in Dragon Ball at that time, even for a test drive of power, is pretty remarkable. We were graced with a few episodes that focused on Krillin and his return to fighting, the return of his confidence and fighting spirit, giving him a massive boost of power once again. And to be honest, I love those episodes, as I'm sure most of you did. And before a bunch of videos came out actually acknowledging Krillin's power back then, I was probably the first person to make a video before all of those based on Krillin's power, acknowledging it for real in the times of Dragon Ball Super where humans were just pathetic ants. And that video actually had mixed reviews, because there were a portion of fans who couldn't accept the fact that a mere human like Krillin actually had power. Those fans thought it was all about Saiyans and gods. Not a good time to be talking about human ants, right? Because it's time to get your guys' thoughts on Krillin's power once and for all, and let's gauge it. For classic retro Dragon Ball and even Dragon Ball Z fans, before the Android saga, Krillin was always a great character, always a great team player. Additionally, Krillin was a regular user of the Solar Flare, a technique that pretty much had a high success rate. If you want to play an exciting fan-made 2D adventure game based on Dragon Ball for free, then check out Return of the Saiyans. You can explore different worlds, train your different skills and unique transformation systems. In-game there are different classes and characters to play: Goku, Vegeta, Dende, Piccolo, Buu, Gohan, Trunks, and now, after running a new update on a new server, Bulma has joined. The game is supported and updated a lot, and the new server world is starting on December 15th. There will be lots of Dragon Ball fans playing, so if you want to give this a try for free, use my promo code to get a free 3-day premium account over at SaiyansReturn.com. Krillin had tools, teamwork, and martial art experience at his disposal that was very important and useful in battle situations, which made up for his insufficient level of power to the main characters of each arc, preferably in Dragon Ball Z. In early Dragon Ball, Krillin wasn't light years behind the main villains, but when Z came about, Krillin was indeed small fry to the likes of Raditz, Vegeta, and Frieza, and the power gap was widening. However, like I mentioned, despite being irrelevant in one-on-one combat situations and in terms of power, you could never take your eyes off Krillin because he could kill you twice if he wanted to with that Destructo Disc, or heck, Solar Flare into the Destructo, which would have been totally overpowered if you think about it. And I'm talking about the times before Perfect Cell. Anyway, with that being said, I always had a respect for Krillin despite him being shat on for years by those pesky myths online about characters being trash that end up being Chinese whispers and then newer fans start to believe it. You know what I'm talking about, guys. Krillin, Yamcha, that's how it goes. But if you are a true Dragon Ball fan, you'll know how important Krillin really was, despite for years people mocking Krillin dying all the time and all that bullshit. And that's just what it is, it's bullshit. Of course, Saiyans sell more merchandise than Krillin, but let's give this guy credit where it's due. He's a human, like us. Krillin is relatable. If we were in Dragon Ball, we would be trying to keep up with all those space aliens. And we would be scared at times of tyrants like Frieza because we're just plain old humans. We don't want to walk to our deaths. We are humans who want to enjoy the fun things in life. Heck, all Krillin ever wanted was a girlfriend and enjoy life in that way. Took him a while, but ended up okay. The dude never looked for war, but would always rise up whenever he was needed. Even though he knew he was screwed from the start, the dude had courage, in my opinion. Krillin was not a coward to me overall. The types of situation Krillin had to face would resemble us having to walk head-on up the motorway. Like one hit and we're dead. But one thing that has always been overlooked with Krillin is his power. Sure, he's more of a support character in the arcs in Dragon Ball Z and in most games, and once the Cell games were done, Krillin was just a comic relief dude. And this theme went on for years, all of the way into Dragon Ball Super, and we're talking decades after the Buu saga ever hit on TV or in the manga. To fans, Krillin ended up being that comic relief guy with no power compared to the main heroes. The days of Krillin being relevant seemed like a lifetime ago. And I know there are some fans out there who haven't watched the original Dragon Ball to understand the journey of Krillin, which is a shame, and you should definitely do that. And when we consider how far Goku had gone at that point in Super compared to the time Goku was on planet Namek as a regular Super Saiyan, We are talking light years of power ahead. So seeing Krillin's performance against Goku, man, it was epic, and was so excited to see Krillin really give Goku a fight somewhat. Despite us knowing how strong Goku was, we really saw the moves that made Krillin Krillin, the cunning techniques to give him an edge where he lacks power. But even his power against the Super Saiyan Goku at that point in Super should never be underestimated. Did Krillin's Destructo Disc have the power to slice up Super Saiyan Goku there in Super? But there's a part of me that thinks, damn, I don't want that hitting Goku in any way. But ask yourself this, did Krillin in Dragon Ball Super at that point have the power to kill Super Saiyan Goku on Namek? And I'm strongly going to say, oh hell yes. He launched a Kamehameha at Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and we know he wasn't going to win. But to think Krillin's max in that beam struggle is less than Super Saiyan Goku on Namek would be ridiculous, considering he is pushing against God powers at that point in Super, where that blue power boy, it's way ahead of Super Saiyan Goku on Namek. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, what if Krillin was pushing against Super Saiyan Goku there in that beam struggle? Sure, Super Saiyan Goku would still win in my opinion, but that Super Saiyan Goku is again light years ahead of Super Saiyan Goku on Namek, or even Yardrat Goku, and Cell Games Goku. So I'm saying Krillin's power from his performance in Super is above Super Saiyan Goku on Namek, and yes, it's still a Super Saiyan. Krillin has the power to beat and even kill a certain level of Super Saiyan. But did we ever think we would hear Krillin is stronger than a Super Saiyan? Ever? Never. He has the 100 times solar flare, which is pretty remarkable, showing us that he can blind someone even if their eyes were closed, messing up their senses long enough for Krillin to slice them up. And I'm not saying Krillin would ever do this to his friends, but the reason I'm bringing it up is to support Krillin and show that he does indeed have the potential to do it. Why does Krillin look so old in Dragon Ball GT compared to Yamcha and Tien? Krillin can never catch a break, both in Dragon Ball the story and in the community as a whole. But he's one of my favorite characters. If you're a fan of Krillin, charge up that Destructo Disc and slice that like button right in half. And thank you so much for your support and watching this video. Now you're probably wondering why I'm making this video today. Well, there are a number of reasons. First reason is, there are some that aren't intelligent enough to understand why Krillin actually looks old in GT, and just don't think. Secondly, I've seen some fans even hate Krillin for looking old. I mean, talk about discrimination, damn, sorry for aging, mate. And thirdly, there are some who genuinely just don't understand why Krillin looks older compared to the likes of Yamcha and Tien, and today we are going to address all three. First of all, people get old, humans for that matter. I don't care if you're a keymaster or you can bench 200k in the gym, your ass is getting old at some point. It's written into your genes to age. Krillin represents as regular folks, ordinary humans, no space warrior DNA BS. So for those who hate Krillin for being old in GT, wake up, smell the coffee, and hope it's not your last coffee before you wake up the next morning with over 9,000 wrinkles. Forgive me, scholars, I had to. Now, it's argued if GT is 5 or 10 years after End of Z, and right now that's not really important. It's not that important, trust me guys. But what's important is to note how Krillin looks at the end of Z, and how Yamcha looks at the end of Z. Let's check that out first. Straight away, aging has shown on Krillin even 10 years after Buu, but Yamcha, this guy is obviously drinking from the fountain of youth. But not many fans look at End of Z Krillin first to see how he's aging. They jump from Buu Saga straight to GT, which isn't a good idea, it's quite unfair. During the End of Z, Krillin, as we know, is 1 year older than Goku, and is born in age 736. The 28th Budokai Tenkaichi is held in 784, making Krillin 48 years old during the End of Z. Yamcha and Tien are 3 years older than Krillin, both born in age 733, so End of Z Yamcha and Tien are actually 51 years old. Now, whatever you want to say for GT, whether Krillin's 53 or 58, it's not nearly as important as how Krillin appears. He looks much older than he did during End of Z, yes, but even more, the biggest confusion is the comparison and portrayal of Krillin in terms of age compared to Yamcha and Tien in GT. Now, Yamcha and Tien range from 55 to 60 years old here, and both of these guys look like they're rocking some Saiyan DNA, but poor old Krillin, literally, he succumbed to age, quite apparently, so what the hell happened? Why does Krillin look like a 70-year-old whilst the older Tien and Yamcha are still rocking the looks? Well, it has a lot to do with the tash of Krillin. You see, the mustache is a very powerful equip item. It gives the user plus 35% knowledge, plus 50% strength, and the wearer gains a 20 charisma point increase every 1 minute. But most importantly, it makes any tash wielder look older than they actually are. Sometimes a mustache can actually make the person look 20 years older. Never underestimate the tash. It even affected Vegeta's age portrayal. So one part of this argument why Krillin looks so old in GT, even more compared to the older Tien and Yamcha, was down to the tash. Let's get rid of the tash from Krillin and give it to GT Yamcha and GT Tien. There we go. Ages are coming closer together already. Yikes. Yamcha's gonna be leading the biker gang to Hollywood Hogan's Voodoo Child theme. Okay, so this still doesn't explain why a younger Krillin still looks like he hasn't aged well. And this could be as simple as genetics. Some humans age faster than others. Human biological fact. Some humans look great in their 50s and 60s. Thank you, Liz Hurley. Another factor could be lifestyle. And I feel this is a major factor and a subtle hint through the writing, through the storytelling, and how in Dragon Ball as well, people who let themselves go, stop training, turn into garbage physically. Now it's obvious, isn't it? You look after your health, your well-being, your fitness, you physically look and act better when you're older. You also can at times appear younger just by maintaining a fresh lifestyle and working out. Now, Krillin stopped training in my guesstimations. Actually, he probably did, right? And didn't keep up training like Tien, who was shown to be training with Chaozu during the end of GT. That's a committed role model in terms of his training right there. This could have affected Krillin's physical well-being in terms of his lack of training. But what about Yamcha? Well, Yamcha is a guy who probably trains for vanity, let's be honest. And as lame as it is, it's still working out. He probably trains in the gym and tries to pull all the women, gets a full body massage with many happy endings to make up for his bad treatment in Dragon Ball, and most of all, he doesn't have any responsibilities. Think about it, this guy lives a life of luxury and all self. He has time to look after his looks, he can get his sleep. Yamcha is the definition of all those young single people out there who get an easy life but live a lonely one, unless you're that one night stand kind of person. But Krillin, this man has a family. He has a wife, child. If any of you have kids or are married, you'll know as well as me your sleep pattern is rocked harder than Super Saiyan 3 Goku shaking the planet. Your physical and mental welfare is put to the test as a family man every single day, and working out, finding time for that is a killer, but it can be done with good discipline and commitment. The problem is, it's so easy not to train. It's so easy to just focus on the wife, focus on work, which Krillin obviously did in Super. He was a lethal weapon cop, and then he has a kid, which is going to be a challenge in itself. Krillin endured stress from the Buu saga onwards in terms of his life. Stress that I think a lot of us can relate to. And that stress does age you. The grey hairs, the bags under your eyes, the lack of energy, to the point where Krillin actually started rocking the dad tash, just like Vegeta, to symbolize their full-time fathers. It's a progression of a character, a good one, but they have to sacrifice something. Krillin even more so, because he's not as genetically amped as Vegeta. That is why Krillin looks so old. Vegeta's a special case, Saiyan DNA bro, but Yamcha and even Tien, both those guys focus on themselves but in different ways. And my best bet that makes sense is the lack of responsibility to other demands in the world, families, combined with the two of them keeping in good shape. It's really helped maintain their youthful looks. Oh, and the tash. I mean, you could even add the mustache to End of Z Krillin, and it affects him a lot. Years lot. Never underestimate the aging properties of a mustache. But let's be honest, another reason why Krillin ain't getting his sleep is because he's being sucked dry by Android 18, if you know what I mean. You talk about Android 19 and 20 being the energy-sucking models, 18's got her own sucking device. And let me tell you this, for an android with unlimited energy, Krillin's got his bloody work cut out for him every night with her demands. But put it this way, our boy Krillin lives like a king. I'd rather live 30 years like Krillin than live 50 years like Yamcha. And that's the bottom line because role model Tien said so. So there you are, scholars. I hope this cleared things up and makes you understand why Krillin looks so old in GT despite being 3 years younger than Tien and Yamcha. But I also hope it taught the fanboys a lesson as to not judge someone like Krillin without actually understanding the character. Hating a character because they look old is as lame as it gets. I never thought I'd say this, but one day, when they get old, I hope some snot-nosed brat walks up to the aged fanboys and calls them a weak loser for being so old. I really hope it goes full circle. Krillin is the guy that makes me feel warm inside. He's the Dragon Ball character we can all relate to. The one who we would feel like seeing all the destruction and carnage in the world, the madness, where all we want is to chill with a hot woman and live a down-to-earth life. I don't care if he looks old in GT, because to me, despite being not nearly as strong as the Saiyans and villains anymore, if ever, Krillin symbolizes a successful character who made it in life. He was a martial artist. His best friend is the main character of the show. He has a loving family, whilst working to help others as a job, and even on the sidelines, helping save the world. I mean, screw age. If Android 18 still loves him and wants to be with him, this man is doing something right. So eat that, haters. Respect for Krillin. Long live Dad Krillin and the Destructo Tash. I really hope you enjoy this video, guys. I know we're talking about Krillin. Krillin these days in Super, with his new level of mind, body, and spirit, is not a force to be underestimated. And in the world of Dragon Ball, Krillin has my respect. And if you don't think Krillin is able to beat any type of Super Saiyan, and we're talking about Namek Super Saiyans, early Android Saga Super Saiyans, that's okay if you don't believe that. But with the way the power creeps work in Dragon Ball Super, characters like Piccolo and Gohan just seem to jump right up in order for their battles to make any sort of sense against all these universal bust-in villains. So if it works for them, why can't it work for Krillin? Never forget the underdogs. Never forget these. The goddamn manager Piccolo, the goddamn role model Tien, the goddamn gentleman Krillin, the goddamn optimist Yamcha.